So now we're going into video 2, which is all about the rise of the one and only Napoleon Bonaparte. So as I said at the end of last video, I'll let you erase as I talk. Yeah. So after the French Revolution, France was in absolute chaos. There was instability, there was political instability, economic turmoil. So out of nowhere comes this little general named Napoleon Bonaparte, who was a successful general, don't get me wrong, but he had defended the revolution as well. So in 1799, he and his supporters, they threw over the weak directory in a coup d'état.
We don't need to know.
Yeah, so they had a coup and they overthrew the directory coup, and he called himself the first consul and eventually called himself Emperor of the French. So his three things, because we remember liberty, equality, and fraternity, now we have order, security, efficiency. And it sort of shows the differences of what the people wanted and now what they're getting, for better and or for worse. So what he did is he brought stability back to France, and he kept the revolutionary ideas alive. He had big plans for France. So now we go into his...
What was the slogan here?
It was order, security, and efficiency.
Order, security,
efficiency.
Yeah.
So Napoleon in his time, he introduced a lot of reforms that are still looked at today, the main one being the Napoleonic Code, which was the new legal system that he implemented in France. It had equality before the law, it had religious freedom, but, I mean, it had limited women's rights, so it was a step up from what the women had before, but their rights weren't full. He improved the education system, he built roads and had many other building projects, and he centralized the government, which is sometimes seen as good or bad, but in this case it was good due to the chaos.
He was very smart. People say he's ambitious, but he wasn't corrupt. And ambition is, take ambition over corruption any day. Because he still did what's best for France. He did what's best for him, but he did it through France instead of just kicking it to the curb.
And now this isn't exactly a reform, but this is the reason he was so popular, is because he continued to spread the revolutionary ideas. He drastically increased French nationalism, and
nationalism is a big one.
Yeah, he was a big nationalist. He made people happy to be French again. And he created legal equality, so everyone was equal, but through the law.
Nationalism is a good way to, gain the power of the people.
100%. And this is not the only time we're going to see nationalism throughout the year, so keep that in mind.
Hitler too, it's not all this stuff's used for good. Hitler, maybe people want to be German, and that's what caused them to follow him too well.
So now we look a little bit on the negative side. He was a dictator. As great as he was a dictator. He controlled the speech, he controlled the press, and he kept the revolutionary ideas when they were benefited towards him. When he thought that the revolutionary ideas might challenge his power, then he started to control the speech a little bit.
He wanted to rule the world.
Yeah.
And he wanted France to rule the world, right? And that was first, and then the people, right? But, yeah, exactly. I'm trying to it says he spread revolutionary ideas wherever his armies went, which means that
when he would conquer, he would take his ideas with him.
Yeah.
So now we go into a little bit of his conquering. So Napoleon had many, many wars throughout his time, known as the Napoleonic Wars, and he built one of the most vast empires across much of Europe. But to be honest, his empire they faced a lot of challenges. Mm-hmm. So the continental system tried to block British trade in Europe, so let me give it a little context. As we know, France, Britain, absolute enemies, always have been. So the continental system was an attempt to block British trade. They wanted to sort of ruin their economy and help France be number one. But it did not work, and it ended up actually hurting France's economy.
because the British Navy just is really good.
The British Navy is the best in the world, so when you try to beat them at sea, you fail. Then we have the Peninsular War, which was in Spain, and they used guerrilla warfare, which once again repeats many times throughout the year, which is, what is it, like sneak attacks, right?
Yeah, it's like, hiding.
Yeah, using stealth.
and stuff.
Instead of just having full-out wars on a field, they use stealth and strategy.
Definitely.
And in 1812, Napoleon made his biggest mistake, invading Russia.
Ooh.
The Russian campaign, it failed horribly. So the Russians had this tactic, scorched earth tactic, which is basically where, I'm gonna need you to draw this.
I got you. All right, ready? This
Make sure they can see
again.
that.
Oh,
I got
move
you.
it, move it. This is Russia. This is Russia. This is France. Again, they're not bordering, but this is just for the sake of the argument, right? The Russian capital is here, right? This is Napoleon. Napoleon wants to go all the way to the capital.
Yep.
Napoleon's troops meet Russia's troops right here, right? But this is Napoleon's troops, and Russia's troops are still very small, right? So what they do, they retreated, and then they advanced, and they retreated, and then
But
they
don't
advanced.
forget,
But what they did when they went back is they burned all their crops. I know it's a little, harsh because it's on your own soil, but it was a sabotage. So, because Napoleon's like, oh, we'll just eat whatever's there, but there was nothing there to eat. So Napoleon's troops at around here said, all right, we can't keep doing this. We're about to starve. We got to go back. But if you look at that, it's a really long way back, and Russia's huge, and Russia's really cold. And at this point, it's winter, so all his troops died.
said perfectly. So that made it a huge mistake for Napoleon because now he returned to France. He was defeated, and the people were starting to doubt him. They were like, okay, you just had two big failures with the Russian campaign and what was I saying? With the Russian campaign and the continental system. So many of his troops died, but that didn't stop him. He went on to have one more big war. Oh wait, what did he say? Oh no, I'm actually wrong. So first, after this, the people, they had completely given up on him, and he was exiled to the island of Elba, which was just off the coast of France. So honestly, it wasn't too far away from home, which is important soon. Because he then escapes and he returns for one final comeback, which is called
I forgot.
the 100 Days Campaign.
Also, just to keep in mind, people wanted Napoleon back. The reason why they welcomed him back is because they put another Louis in, and the Louis was as bad as all the other ones.
When Napoleon left, they went back to the old way and they were like, wow, this is terrible.
Sucks.
We need Napoleon back.
Yeah.
They brought him back. The 100 Days Campaign started, and this is the event that ended him, was the Battle of Waterloo. He was planning to make a big invasion, but little did he know that many other countries were teaming up against him. So the British and Prussian forces, they destroyed the French army by using sneak attack and guerrilla warfare tactics. So he was now again exiled to St. Helena because St. Helena's much further from France. He had boats going around it the entire time. He had people watching him at all times. And then eventually in 1821, he died.
Yep.
And just to wrap things up, Napoleon, he changed Europe forever.
Yeah.
People still look back at him today. People try to make themselves modern Napoleons.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, you see, like a lot of people inspired to be like Napoleon, and also in the next unit we're doing, that's nationalism, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll see how he carried his ideas to Europe, and that caused these places to kind of break away from oppression. Now, as far as themes go, I feel like ambition, like abuse of power, that's a big one. What else?
Abuse of power, you said ambition.
Yeah.
Probably, nationalism, we said.
Nationalism, yeah. Especially like later we'll see a lot of different times. I feel like the power of the people.
Yeah, the power
is
of
a
the
big
people
one.
for sure.
I've written probably half my essays on that. Gandhi, Hitler, Napoleon.
The people hold power.
Yeah.
So, after Napoleon's drastic effects, Europe had to clean itself up, which is where we hear of the Congress of Vienna.
Oh yeah.
So, many leaders met in Vienna. Where's Vienna, Matthew?
Austria, Prussia, something near that.
Austria, yeah, you do that. So they needed to restore. Their main things were stability and peace. That's what they needed in Europe. So the thing is, some people wanted to take this opportunity to turn more moderate and go to democracies and listen to the
Metternich, that's a
revolution.
Pole.
Yeah, led by.
Wow.
Metternich,
Led by
yeah.
Metternich. He's like a big conservative.
He was a representative of Austria, and as we know, Austria had a monarchy. They're a very old empire. So if you look, the people that were fighting to go back to the old ways were Britain, Austria, the Ottomans, all the people that had successful, strong.
That, but also, you know, the people that rule Europe, they all come from the same family.
Yeah.
And the reason why that everyone conspired against him was because they wanted to keep this power. I feel like abuse of power, you want to keep control. You want to control. I feel like that is why Napoleon ended this, because everyone conspired against him. And that is why the Congress of Vienna happened, was so, you know, we got to stay in power.
Yeah. So their main goal was creating a balance of power. So they wanted to equally distribute the rest of the European countries, and they wanted to promote legitimacy, which is what we just spoke about. The idea that royals' families have the actual right to rule, like it is their birthright to be in power.
What was that Chinese thing? Do you remember that?
Divine right.
Divine right.
Yeah, divine right. Yeah. So they redrew the map of Europe, and they favored a lot of conservative monarchies. Like we see, Austria keeps their size. They might have actually increased. Meanwhile, a lot of revolutionary ideals or countries fighting for their own sovereignty, they didn't get the same favoritism. But the thing that nobody can control is thoughts. You can't control what someone's thinking. And Napoleon had put a lot of interesting thoughts into people's heads. He spread the ideas of nationalism, democracy, and self-rule. And we're going to see
that in the next video.
Yeah, we're going to see that come back very strong.
Alright.